Yo, what is up, and welcome back. Today we have Darren, Daz, and Conroy with us today. Hopefully, we'll have a few more guests joining us throughout the rest of the show. Today, the first question, and the title of this is why did we make a mistake in signing Kabak when we did? Now, I've obviously worked for clickbait because that's the best way to do it. But my question is, and to be fair, I wanted to actually start by talking about yesterday's game, but it's just my brother made this point like about 10 minutes before the stream saying, why did we wait so long to sign Kabak? And watching the Leipzig game, it seemed to me like Kabak fit into the team very well, considering it's only his second game for the club. Had we signed him a little bit earlier, I'm going to start with Darren. Had we signed Kabak a little bit earlier, do you think he would have helped prevent the monstrosity that we've gone through?
Yeah, I think so. But I don't think anyone could have overseen that Van Dijk, Gomez were going to be two long-term injuries, and then Matip as well. And like we've seen Matip coming in and out of the team, it's been very frustrating for the centre back. So I think in the summer when we didn't get a four-choice centre back in, there wasn't too many eyebrows raised about it because we obviously the speculation and let's say the rumours were around Thiago. We brought him in. We addressed the left full position, which we badly needed in Simicast, bringing him in, and obviously bringing in someone else to challenge and keep the front three on that toes and Diogo Jota. So I think all of that was kind of forgotten about. I know we did put in with some interest, in Kabak in the summer. There was talk of 20 to 25 million, and we put in a bid for Mandy from Real Betis. I think that was rejected at the time, 10 million. So we were definitely on the trail for a centre back. There was no doubt about it. But maybe it wasn't done the summer because we knew we'd Nat Phillips there as well, who obviously was played a huge part of when he came in. His three-man the matches displays that he had for us, and he didn't play a big part, and I suppose he had some part in coming into the team and doing well, and he was composed and physical. And his first game he came in, I think it was the end of October there, we played West Ham at home and he was man of the match, so he was brilliant. So I think they always looked at, if possible, we can have him as fourth choice and we can have Fabinho, but no one was ever going to foresee having Van Dijk, Gomez out, Matip out, and then Fabinho.
But seeing that he was potentially on the cards, don't you think that we could have done? So we had the winter transfer window, but we waited until pretty much the last week until Davies and Kabak were both announced. Had we done that a little bit earlier, all that difficulty we went through from the Crystal Palace game onwards, and to be honest, since the Crystal Palace game, we have not been the same. Like we haven't. I think we saw glimpses of it against Leipzig, glimpses of it against United, but I wouldn't say with it even in fact, I forgot the main one, which was Spurs. But if we made those changes earlier, like if we brought Kabak in earlier, knowing that, look, we've literally have one centre-back who's from our first team, and that's Matip. And obviously back then we didn't know he's going to get injured, but we've literally got one centre-back, and knowing Matip, he's going to get injured anyways. Why didn't we foresee the fact that we're looking at centre-backs? Why are we going to wait till the end of the transfer window? Or why are we going to wait for a bad scenario to actually go and sign them? Because if we sign Kabak in December, when the transfer window opens, when does the transfer window open?
January.
4th of January, yeah.
So if we signed him on the 4th, if we sign, even not on the 4th, if we signed him in that first week, we could have prevented a lot of the difficulties we went through. Like he could have settled into the team a lot earlier. Go on. I'll let you lot go.
No, you go, Darren. You go, mate.
Yeah, he could have, and it's a good point as to why. I'm not 100% sure. I would just imagine it wasn't that straightforward to get him there and then, but maybe it was. Maybe like leaving it to the last minute to getting Davies and Kabak. It was just strange timing, but we don't know what else has gone on behind the scenes. But Kabak, it's been a positive signing so far. I think he's been very composed. He was unfortunate the weekend to be on the receiving end of 3 goals because I thought he'd done very well up until we got conceded that first goal, and when we did, the heads just dropped. I don't know whether it was just another VAR decision, another kind of a decision that was very controversial, went against us, and the heads dropped. We've seen it happen in so many away games this season, at Brighton, at Everton, whether it was just reminiscent to that, and the heads dropped completely Saturday, which was, I was a little bit surprised, and it was very frustrating. But he was exceptional last night, and for a 20-year-old to come in with the experience he has, a top-level Bundesliga, a couple of appearances for Turkey internationally, it's really good going for him. And the fact he was touted in the summer, as I said, to be brought in at 20 to 25 million, he hasn't been a panic buy. He's someone that's on our radar a while. So placed where he was brought in, but I would have liked to see it done earlier. I was very surprised, so if that it was done so late and it was the last day of the window as well. The 1st of February we signed them.
And to be honest, Conroy, you back here. So Conroy, I want to ask you, like obviously.
Sorry guys, that was my door there.
No, it's fine. It seems like Kabak had like quite a good game. To be fair, I think he did decent against Leicester. Like Dad said, it's just quite unfortunate the way things fell apart. And he's very new to the English Premier League and English style of football and stuff like that. And to expect him to come out with a 10 out of 10 performance on his first game is a bit of a jump, considering he's just come into the squad. But he seems to be settling quite well. Do you think he is, like, I wouldn't say so much the answer to our questions, but do you think he's at least half of that?
I think the thing is, guys, he's only played 2 games. So it's like every game now, I was talking to Safe, because Safe last night was buzzing, and I was really happy with the win. But it's like we've had a problem this season of thinking we're back in the swing of things when we're not. I thought Spurs was I've got a match review of me saying that we're back, my team's back. What a load of rubbish. I was going to say a bad word there, but that's what it is. It's the inconsistency is the problem now. So when I see a bit of consistency, I maybe get on that train. But he is a young guy. Back to your earlier point, see what makes me think the club were trying their bestest not to sign a centre-half until Fabinho and Matip got injured, was see that forgive me, I can't pronounce his name. What is it? Calicar, the guy from the centre-back was at Marseille. It broke down because they couldn't get a replacement.
Kalitakar,
yeah.
So Kalitakar.
If the club thought of him so highly, which it looks like they did, and he was their number 1 choice or available choice, if they were being proactive, like Safe's talking, they would have had that wrapped up at the start of the window to give, because obviously the deal could have been done and they would have got a replacement in or had time to get a replacement. We have to remember that Shrodan Mustafi is the reason Kabak's at our team. Really, that's the point of that. So for me, I think they were doing their best not to sign anybody, and then Fabinho and Matip got injured, and then they realised that we're going to have to do something here, or the fans are going to revolt. Let's be honest, because it's on a knife edge right now with the fans. There's maybe a lot of people who want FSG out, or maybe not Virgin that way, but the last couple of months, it's maybe changed a lot of opinions. For me, I'm still on the fence with that. But my point about Kabak is I was really impressed with him last night. The best thing I can say about a centre-half sometimes is see when you don't know he's there, in the sense of nobody's getting in behind, so he's not highlighting poor mark or anything like that. He's just keeping it simple and getting on with the game. I thought that's what he was really good at last night. And even the foul, I actually thought that was a good foul. That was Thiago losing the ball, by the way, when we're 2-0 up for no reason. It's like Bobby Firmino and Thiago have this ability of just calm it down, don't try anything stupid, and that's what they do. I'm sure you saw Henderson roaring at them a few times, because for some reason footballers just, I don't know what it is, and complacency seems to run through that team. But I thought Kabak made a good call. That's a good foul as well. I think for a 20-year-old, I think because he looks a bit older, you underestimate that. I'm hoping he continues to play like that. And for me, I think we'll keep him. But I think it'll be Henderson and Kabak to the end of the season. People were asking, is Davis going to start against Everton? I don't care if there's no fans. You're not going to start 2 centre-backs who've not played together in a Merseyside derby. It's like, I think logic's going out the window a bit sometimes when we're talking about this stuff. But I would totally say he was good. He was good last night, and he was solid. Again, though, how good is Jordan Henderson? Like, how is no one talking about? Everyone talks about Van Dijk when he's a centre back. Jordan Henderson sprays balls like that, no bother, because he's got time to do it at centre half. So maybe we've exaggerated Van Dijk's passing and maybe lowered Henderson's.
I'm going to hold you there for a second, yeah. So I want to bring Callum in. What's up, Callum? Lovely to see you.
Evening, guys. Sorry about the time.
Yeah, sorry. Someone's just commented, that saw the title and noticed the disrespect towards Maldini. If you're still watching, I just want to clarify, clickbait title. I'm very, very happy we signed Kabak. What I meant to say is I wish we signed him earlier. I think we could have done the work a little bit earlier, done the business earlier. And we're in a good situation now. Could have been in a slightly better situation. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say good situation just yet. We saw what happened against Spurs, and then after that, I don't want to jump the gun a little bit, but Callum, I want to get your opinion actually, because I was watching your stream, and to be fair, you lot spoke a lot about the game, and I loved watching it. But what do you make of Kabak? Like, why did we not sign him earlier? If we knew we were in a situation where Matip's not the most reliable centre back in the world in terms of injuries and stuff like that, Why? And he was literally our only surviving centre back at the beginning of this transfer window. Why did we wait till the end of the window to sign Kabak?
I have no idea. It seems as though the club made a massive gamble at the beginning of the season by using Firmino as fourth choice centre back, and then in January we made another gamble, which was, in my opinion, even worse, thinking that even though Virgil and Gomez would be out for the season, that Firmino and Matip would stay fit for the rest of the season. That's a concern to me, because anyone who watches us and watches football knows that Matip just isn't reliable injury-wise. So for me, we should have signed a centre-back the moment Joe Gomez got injured, as opposed to the 1st of January. The 1st of January is when the players should have been in training at Liverpool, as opposed to going out and sign someone. The fact that we went and got Kabak and Davies on the last day suggests that we rushed it, which is not like Liverpool, especially in recent times, to rush transfers and to be squandering opportunities earlier on in the window. So for me, it was a bit frustrating seeing that. And I agree, if we had signed a centre-back sooner, I think we would have avoided a lot of what happened in January.
I'm not being funny, but you lot are glad we didn't sign that Upamecano, because I know we were linked with him.
100%.
He had a shocker yesterday, an absolute shocker. But yeah, no, like I say, Kabak has been. I was asking Conroy this as well, Callum. But do you think he's essentially our saving grace at the moment? Do you think he's going to be the guy that, I don't know, brings some sort of stability to our squad? I know, I'm jumping a little bit, but
no. The thing is, it's a tough one, because I mean, the Leicester game, I didn't think he played that bad, but some people just hated his performance there. Yesterday, I thought he was very good. It's difficult to say. I mean, I wouldn't even judge him after the Everton game, because it's a derby as well, and derby kind of form goes out the window when it's a derby game. So you're looking at maybe the game after the Everton game where you start to judge him, but he's coming at arguably the most difficult time, because we're in a tough run of fixtures, but our worst form that I've seen under Klopp as well. So I'm not going to judge him yet. I know I'm sitting on the fence a little bit, but I'm going to give it maybe 5 or 6 games before I judge him. But so far, I'm good.
I was saying you were very happy on your stream yesterday. That's why I just wanted to
Has he brought the wig? Has he brought the wig?
Conroy never leaves, bro. He never leaves, bro.
Amazing. Amazing.
Very good.
All right, saying all of that, yeah, and I know, like, I've got a massive tendency to get extremely ambitious, especially like it just takes one result and that's it. Like, I think that's it. We're going to win the World Cup, and Liverpool can't enter the World Cup. But I just get that happy sometimes, yeah. And I feel like it's just, we had like Brendan Rodgers come in and we did what I thought was never going to be achievable in that season that we did. And then Klopp's just taken us to the moon, literally. And every time something good happens, I'm like, all right, cool. That's it. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. But I'm gonna ask Darren actually, yeah. Do you think, I know it felt like Tottenham might have been the game, but do you think this could be the turning point in our season? Because we've come, like, the difference between this game is we've had to travel away from England. It's a different competition. All that bad backtrack that we've had in the Premier League doesn't come along with us to the Champions League. It's 2 separate competitions. And I feel like possibly, but I want to ask you, do you think this could be a turning point in our season?
Well, firstly, I hope so. It has to be, doesn't it? We've had a couple of days this season where we've been up, and then next of all, we've been brought down, a bit of a reality check. But there's a big weight being lifted off our shoulders, because we know we're not going to win the league now. We've been beaten at home, so then we went on broke records, our first 3 Premier League home defeats, our league defeats since, was it 58 years ago, since 1963. So I would hope with that weight being lifted off our shoulders now, we did see a little bit of a swagger last night. Keeping a clean sheet against a really tough opponent in Leipzig last night, who are high flying this season. Let's be honest about it. You know, they beat Spurs last season, the Champions League. They beat our neighbours United recently, knocked them out of the Champions League, and like that, they've some smashing players in there. And for us to go there last night, like, there was a huge contrast in the 2 teams last night, because we were obviously out of form, the heads are being down, and they're high flying. So for us to go against them, score 2 goals, and not be, let's be honest, we weren't in 5th gear at our total best last night, but we were clinical, we got the job done, and to keep a clean sheet was huge, because I even think last night going there and keeping a clean sheet alone was a big response from the weekend. You know, we seen Alisson last night at the best of times. He did pull off a good save. And I noticed last night when the ball came back to him, it was just, if it had to go out for a throw in or into Rose, he done that. There was no messing about and giving them a half opportunity to take it up. And because I think he's been guilty of that a bit this season, he's got away with it. So I really do hope so, if that it's going to be a turnaround and we can get a consistent string of results together. It's going to be hard to keep winning, but as long as we're not losing, we'll be happy enough when we get a couple of wins in there. Because obviously now at the moment, top four is priority, and to try and go as far as we can in this competition. Like, I was a bit buzzing last night saying that the last 2 times we played German opposition in the last 16, the Champions League, we ended up going on and winning it. The first happened in Istanbul, and where's the final this year? Istanbul. Now, look, I was saying that kind of for a bit of attention and just being high on it, you know what I mean? And soaking in the highest, because we haven't had a lot of highest this season. But I suppose the highs are better when you've had lows, you know what I mean? And that's been brilliant this season, where we've had a couple of lows, and then when you get them highs, you have to milk it a bit, don't you? So that's right done. So hopefully it is, and I do believe it. I think Everton now are going in against the weekend. This time last week, we would have probably thought different to this fixture, but they haven't beaten us at Anfield since '99. We always, no matter what form going in against Everton, we seem to just beat them. They just, I don't know what it is, whether it's a psychological thing with Everton, they just can never get that win over us. I remember going into the FA Cup game 2 seasons ago against them, where Curtis Jones scored a worldie. It was our best chance. We played reserves in that game. Do you know what I mean? With Pedro Chevea in midfield pulling the strings, and they had a full team. Did Angelotti there as well. Origi, 96-minute goal. Even at Goodison earlier on this season, we were hammered 7-2 against Villa. It came in international break. They had won their first 4 games out of 4 in the league. They were flying. And we went into that game, and all the Evertonians thought this is their best chance to beat Liverpool. And to be fair, it probably was. And that day, if you remember, we actually should have won, only for the controversial decision at the end with Henderson's goal. We really should have won it. So we went there that day. We took a draw. I think we were the happier out of teams. I think the only bad news that day was obviously Van Dijk getting injured. So we have a really good record against Everton over the years. And now with them after being beaten at home to Fulham, losing tonight against Man City, there might be a little bit of complacency creeping in there to Everton now. But I mean, look, form goes out the window going to a derby. It's hard to call this the weekend, but you would, as a Liverpool fan, have to fancy us to win that. Absolutely. So let's hope.
Conroy, why I threw this comment up is because we were having a bit of a discussion yesterday, and I think this comment quite agrees a lot with what you were saying about not 100%. So, well, I mean, I don't want to speak specifically about the Everton game, but considering our next 3 games are, if I'm not wrong, Sheffield and Fulham after that. So we've got Sheffield, Fulham.
Don't look that far, game by game right now. I'm game by game. Honestly, like I was, the Coppish man here, I sent the match review in. I was like, we're back, we're done it. And I'm not usually like that. Next week, we lost to Brighton. So I've learnt my lesson a bit in that sense. But I just think, as Cal said about Kabak as well, the most impressive thing about last night, albeit we're Liverpool fans, we're looking at with the red-tinted goggles, they have a great chance in the last minute. If they score that, we're all fuming because Leipzig are going to come to Anfield just like Hoffenheim did and go for us. They've got no respect in the sense of, like, I think actually someone made a good point last night. It's like water off a duck's back for Leipzig. They'll just, or any Nagelsmann team, they'll concede, but they'll just play, and which is actually quite a hard mentality. So I was actually raging last night that we nearly conceded if that guy, because he put it wide. It was a bad miss. It wasn't good defending. So I just think we have to just, game by game now. What I would say is, I thought is with Kabak was we controlled the game quite well. And that's been Liverpool's biggest strength. People go on about heavy metal football, but I don't actually think they watch a lot of Liverpool. We're very good at controlling the game, so it means teams don't get the ball. Right now, obviously, we're not amazing right now. We've not got Van Dijk, we've not got Gomez, we've not got Henderson in the middle of the park, so we're not 100%. But I do think last night it looked like you win games if you've got a better chance of winning games if you control them, and that was the most impressive part about last night. I thought Thiago looked quite sharp as well. I did think, like, I know you're biggest Bobby Firmino fan here as well. The only thing I thought bad last night was, see, when we got gifted the goals, we did, but there were 2 good finishes, and that'll do Mane and Salah. Their confidence will be really buzzing with that. But what I would say is, there's a few chances in that first half, and I'm like, I'm not going to go on the number 9 train again. But if we had a number 9 or a clinical striker there, right, there's so many opportunities in that first half where we could be out of sight. And I just feel it's not going to happen now, obviously, but if we don't do that in the summer, I feel like that's how we change going forward. But at the moment, the main thing is getting Mane and Salah confidence, because they are goal getters, specifically Salah, obviously. So I'd say it was actually the control I thought was the best part about last night. Not really the way, we were attacking great. I just think the control gives us a good base. And as Darren said about Everton game, the form goes out the window, but I do feel a bit more confident going into that game, because a couple of weeks ago I was thinking you could spin that, this is Everton's best chance to beat us, because as much as you think Everton have got that hoodoo there, right? You have to say they're much better finishers now. They've got the Calvert-Lewin.
I think he's frozen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
What I'll do then is, Callum, I want to ask you, because yesterday, on your stream, you seemed 1 minute. Well, I wouldn't say you were going between different sides of the fence here, but you were getting very excited. And I think Drifty just kept pulling you down to earth a little bit. I'm with you, because the thing is, it's just so easy to get swept off your feet essentially by the Liverpool result. But what do you think? Do you think it's fair to say that this could be a turning point? And what do you think we might be lacking, or we might be doing better in, which is why the season's turning around?
Yeah, so last night, shall I be honest with you? I think I was so relieved at the win that my emotions just took over me. And I always like to keep the same energy when we lose or when we win. So when we lost, I get on the stream and I'm livid, I'm angry, I'm annoyed, I'm frustrated, I'm probably easy to trigger. So when we win, I just want to get on there and just be happy. I think sometimes we get so involved with what happened previously, what's going to happen in the future, that sometimes I just want to get excited about the now. Like sometimes as football fans, we don't get excited about what's happening right now. And I think that was the case last night. I was like, Leipzig were a tough team. They're a tough team to beat. And I really wanted to celebrate yesterday.
You made Drifty look calm, Cal.
Yeah, I know.
That never happened.
I was trying to get him on my way, but you weren't getting there.
Just sitting there. He was just like, no.
Yeah. But in terms of a turning point, it's difficult to say. It definitely can be. But as Conroy said, we've been here before. So I think it is just a case of taking it one game at a time. However, Darren, I'm not going to lie, bro. You now have added another level to my gas, where you just told me and reminded me the fact that we won it in 2005, beat Leverkusen in the last 16, won it in 18-19, Bayern Munich. Now we just beaten Leipzig in the first leg.
Yeah.
Maybe I might have to start believing again. I don't know.
I was bigging it up now a bit, Callum, but I was doing that kind of from mirroring what you were saying there. Just it's been a while. We haven't celebrated, milked it up a little bit. It was a midweek win. You just need it, and sometimes you need to live in the moment a little bit, and just you go onto social media, you see a lot of negativity, people are pessimistic, and probably rightly so, but you just can't forget. I wouldn't want any other manager or any set of players to be in our corner at the moment going through this, and emotions still got over us, and that's what it's all about. But deep down, I'm taking it game by game, really, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, but in fairness though, right, I'll give him his due. I'm saying about the chances Leipzig had last night, but they do push so far up the park that against most teams they'll create chances. I've got to say, and I don't think enough people are talking about how good Jordan Henderson is. Like, why is no one talking about this? I see him.
It's not fashionable.
He's roaring at Thiago. He's my favourite player right now, because you see these players who are maybe not luxury players, but obviously Thiago's world class. I'm not debating that at all, right? But Jordan Henderson has no respect for that. He sees him lose the ball last night. The first thing he does, and because he's at centre back, you see him just screaming at them. I love it. I love every second of it. Brilliant. I want a Henderson cam for every game, because it's like that's what fans feel like, because you're like, why are you giving? We've just gone 2-0 up. Use your brain, and it's like Ox gives the ball away. And you can actually, if you watch the game back, Henderson's roaring at him, and you see Ox just be like, sorry. And it's just like, I actually love him. And it's like, this guy was a right winger at Sunderland, and he's playing at centre back in the last 16. Why is no one talking about this? And it's just, you're so right, Cal, because every time I come on the stream, I'm not as big at, like, Drifty loves Jordan Henderson, right? I didn't, but every time I'm on these streams, there's not enough love. So it's like I've turned into that. Just amazing footballer.
It's true.
So intelligent.
Has done so much. The development I've seen from him in this team, like what he's become as a leader. The thing is, when he first came to Liverpool, if you ever told me this guy's going to be like the leader of the squad, and not just the leader of the squad, but the leader of the squad that's going to go on to win the Champions League, Club World Cup, blah blah blah, got all the put the medals there. But
I see him looking beautiful.
Yeah.
But if you told me he was going to be that guy, I would never have believed you. But the development that I've seen from this guy, the passion, and the thing is, I feel like a lot of players that make it to a certain stage, and I mean, I don't want to pick on Pogba in particular, but when he came to Manchester United, he came as if he was a bigger brand than the club itself. And that frustrated me because I've seen that happening a lot in football. It's like even Lingard had that a little bit as well, and he was getting a lot of criticism for it, that you're trying to create a brand that's more important than the club, but you've got to realize everything you do is for that club. And no matter how much Henderson achieves, no matter how much he tries, it seems like his whole focus is ensuring that the best achievement is the club's achievement. And that's what I love. And he's literally the fan's voice. Like what I'm screaming at this TV, when Thiago's making silly passes, literally he is that fan's voice or whatever. But I want to ask about the next point, yeah. So Conroy touched on it a little bit earlier, saying that we had two good finishes yesterday with Mane and Salah's finishes, but both of them were essentially gifted to us. Like we didn't really make our chances, and when we did make chances in the first half, we just didn't convert them, which is the usual cause. We control the game and just don't convert our chances, and it's frustrating. And I can't see why it has to take a mistake from the other team for us to actually have to go and score a goal. Do you think that we like? Obviously we've got the capability of doing it, but why are we not scoring goals? Like, why are we not scoring the goals that we're making for ourselves? Because it looked like we changed up our game plan a little bit. Darren, I'm going to ask you, yeah, but it looked like we changed up our game plan a little bit yesterday, and it seemed like every time we went to attack, it seemed like the old Liverpool where we looked like we're about to score again. But it had to take two mistakes from them for us to go and have a chance.
Yeah, and look, I suppose the two mistakes they made, credit where credit's due, we capitalised on it. That's something we've been guilty of, particularly of late in games. And I think it's confidence, Steve. I really do. Like, I always think when you're confident, you can score from 30, 40 yards out. You can, Atom will just pull off you. Atom you touch is a goal. But when you're low in confidence, you can miss from 3 or 4 yards out. And it's just one of those things. Confidence is huge in football. And of late, confidence being shattered, and especially after the weekend. I mean, for 75 minutes, to have that intensity, that aggression, that energy away at the King Power against a side that's a very good side and an underestimated Leicester side. We'd obviously made changes. Again, we've seen Henderson at the back, and we obviously miss his influence in midfield and how much he makes us tick and even his creativity in there. So I think just confidence, really. I just think it's confidence. But look, last night we were ruthless in front of goal. Salah, one really good chance, one goal. Mane the same, and we took it and capitalised, and that's what we need to do. And if you look back in the games this season that some of them we lost and drew in, if we capitalise on our chances that's given to us when the oppositions make mistakes, because Liverpool are so good off the ball and we put so much pressure on teams that they will make mistakes. But the question is, will we capitalise? And a lot this season we haven't. So to capitalise on last night was huge, and it was ruthless. It was a smash and grab. But what I, as I said a while ago, echoing again what I said, what was most impressive thing was we kept a clean sheet, and we were very composed and solid at the back. And just to touch on there, sorry lads, to go on and off the topic a bit on Jordan Henderson. I mean, it must be frustrating for him. He's playing centre back, he's playing centre midfield, and he's doing as good a job as centre back as he did in midfield. But he's been on the receiving end of a little bit of criticism because the team's been leaking a lot of goals. But I mean, credit where credit's due. He's a top man, and he's a legend already at the club. But he's doing himself more and more favours by just doing what he's doing and how influential he is. And I seen the other day there's a clip on social media where he walks by Thiago and he's giving out to him where he concedes the foul at the edge of box where Maddison then converted. So he's just a top man, top professional, top athlete, and I wouldn't want anyone else captains at the moment than him. He's just highly underestimated by a lot of people, but I think a lot of our own fan base now have accepted that he's phenomenal and he's just world class. I think, you know what I mean. If he was probably someone else, you'd have everybody pecking at him and looking to sign him, and he'd be talked about as this big transfer. But for us, I'm glad he isn't, because we need him more than ever, and he's rallied us. And unbelievable player. Can't speak highly enough of him.
I think he makes a difference. I think he makes a difference in the sense of it's not all about ability, because if that's the case, Thiago could just walk. I think it's a shock to the system of players like that, because Henderson, like, you come into Liverpool, right, and even if you're from maybe Liverpool won the Champions League and the Premier League, you think, oh, they're doing well, I'd like to play for Klopp. But Henderson's in there, and there's no there's no arrogance gets you nowhere with this team. It's like, that's why we sign the players we sign. That's why Thiago's probably maybe a strange signing for us, because we usually get players who are good to make them great. But Henderson has just got no time for you. And it's like, you need that. I think, I'm not comparing to Man United, but you have to look at Man United teams. It's like world-class players. Like, I know people talk about Varane all the time and stuff like that. You don't just assume you get a start. You've got Keane there. You've got Neville's as well, who are expecting a certain standard, and it's not even an ability, it's using your brain, being smart in games. Like, Henderson is screaming at Andy Robertson in the 92nd minute because he doesn't take the ball into the corner. I just think, see, because there's no fans and you can hear everything right now, and it's not just about the vocals, it's just like, I watched the game last night. I'm not saying Henderson's perfect because a few balls got round the back, right? But the amount of times against Leicester that he intercepts it like a centre-back would intercept, it's like, I don't think people underestimate how intelligent he is and how good he reads the game. I think he could actually play at centre back when he gets on a bit. I really do. He probably won't to play there now, but I just think people underestimate his intelligence of a game, and it's not just
discipline
all about
as well. His discipline.
Yeah. And it's like, he gets that 1%. I think there's certain teams who are great, like maybe not last night, but see PSG in the last couple of years, amazing players, right? But tactically maybe quite poor in some games. The finals, the prime example of that last year. And like, they maybe don't have that. It's not even a spine. It's just like that person who's going to get that 1%. That person who's going to be in the back of your mind. And you can see the difference with Trent when Henderson's on Trent's side. Trent was good last night, but as Carl will say as well, Trent's not had a good season. He's had a mixed season. He's had a lot of poor performances. I don't think he does that if Henderson's there. I can't speak highly enough of him, and I just get a bit annoyed that most people aren't talking about him now. That means, they know he's good, but they just won't give him the credit he deserves. And I don't care if they give him the credit he deserves. I just think it's like, Virgil van Dijk plays a pass last season that Henderson's played 4 of them in the last 3 games, and you see it on Twitter 100 times. But Henderson does it, and maybe the reason he can't do that in a game is because he's not got the time to do it, where Virgil van Dijk has got so much time to do it. So I just 100%, guys, we're going on a Henderson loving, but the guy deserves it. The guy was going to get sold to Fulham, and he's done the turnaround. I mean, honestly, love the guy.
That story alone is brilliant.
Incredible.
And
mentality,
it's natural to him as well, which is the maddest thing. I don't think he's going to move away from that centre back position until at the end of this season, because
don't tell Cal that, he'll be fuming.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I need to see him back in the centre, man. I hate
too good there because you're just gonna get stopped there.
I know. So I tell you what, without getting too philosophical, Henderson's career at Liverpool for me epitomizes how people should approach life. You may not be the most talented in your area. You may not be the most loved. People may look to move you on, whether it be job or whatever. But if you approach life how Henderson approaches things, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be successful. Like, obviously, you need a bit of luck on the way, as everyone will attest. But as you look back and you look at when he could have been sold to Fulham, he could have just said, you know what, I'm just going to go through the motions here and I'll just move to another club. You look at players like John Joe Shelby, who we had at the same time. John Joe Shelby, in my opinion, has better technical attributes than Jordan Henderson. But he can't hold a candle to Henderson's work ethic. His leadership, his discipline, can't hold a candle to it. Jack Wilshere is another one. You've got all these other English players and all these other players in general who've been at the club or been in England set up, and all of them have been more naturally, quote unquote, talented and gifted than Henderson. Where's Henderson now? Leading arguably one of the best teams to play in Europe in the last 5-6 years. And it's not a coincidence. And I was one of his biggest critics, especially when we signed Van Dijk. I was like, yep, Van Dijk's coming now, new captain. Henderson's done well, but new captain. And he's completely shut me up. Do you know how livid I will be if Klopp took away the captaincy from Henderson now against someone else? Like, Henderson would have to do something so crazy that I'd be like, no, Klopp, no, I'm not having this. I'm not having this.
That's so funny, Cal.
It's Henderson. Like, that guy grinded with a grit.
Yeah, because we spoke about that, Steve. We spoke about, see Van Dijk, I think he's a great leader, but I actually don't think he's amazing as a Liverpool captain, and I think results can reflect that as well. It's like sometimes he has to, instead of commanding the defence, this is actually Safe's point, so I'm not going to steal him. He says he commands, because we're talking about this other day, he says he commands the defence, and Van Dijk's amazing at that, but Henderson commands everybody. And in a sense, Van Dijk looks after the defence and Henderson does the rest of the park. Whereas I think Van Dijk sometimes is not he's just great at what he does, so just let him do that. And I think Henderson showed that. I mean, the stats don't lie as well. The amount of games he's played that when he's not played, we've had bad results. I can't remember. It was it's a crazy stat that his win percentage. So the guy speaks for himself. But we better not. We should have changed his title to Henderson Loving, to be honest, mate.
and just one last point on. I remember last season Fabinho was in that holding role and he got injured, and he scored a goal against Man City at Anfield. We won the game 3-1. He came out of the team and we're all a bit right. This might rattle a title charge here. Henderson went in there, absolutely exceptional. He just stepped in there, and it was like as if Fabinho had just pushed forward and he'd done the role he'd done. There was just the turnover was it was unbelievable, and that was when I kind of saying that this guy is so underrated, but he gets a level of respect that we don't even see through the Liverpool management and players, and that's he just kind of keeps life on a low profile, doesn't he, even on social media, and that's his discipline, his attitude. It's phenomenal, and to keep that going season after season, game after game, and now when the going gets tough, he's coming out the chest out, and I just love it. It's
and you know
brilliant.
what?
And that was great. You said, Callum, about if you lived life the way he done it, so I really like that.
Yeah, he seems like he's very well respected by all the other Liverpool players, which is so important in a team, because literally anything he says or does happens, and you need a leader in a team like that. But moving on, I want to speak a little bit about Thiago. And I wasn't intentionally looking to actually talk about Thiago, but he's not had the best start at Liverpool, considering, and I do not doubt that he's a World Cup player. Even now, I don't doubt it. But yesterday, I saw a different side of him. He looked a bit more comfortable. I know Conor was picking up some mistakes that he made.
No, he had a good game. I was just saying, like Henderson, I don't think he's had that before, that you've got a guy from Sunderland roaring at him. So it's I think he's a bit like, oh, what's happening here?
But,
in a good way.
Sorry, Callum, we just got a comment there for you. I think that's my dad. Yeah. There's no way.
Firstly, shout out to dad.
Man's
all right.
Dan.
So what I will say, when we signed Henderson and Shelvey, I would actually argue Shelvey had better technique. I think he was a better passer of the ball. I think he was a better dribbler, and I think he had a better shot. And
do you know what? When Shelvey went to Newcastle, he did a stellar job at Newcastle.
And Swansea as well.
Yeah. Sorry, I completely forgot it as well. But no, to be honest, at the time, you're probably right. Like, if I had to choose one of them, I would have chosen Shelvey over Henderson. But Henderson's just trumped anything that Shelvey did in his career.
Quite a few players like that, though, isn't there? Because Ravel Morrison there's an interview the other day talking about. There's quite a few English players who are amazingly gifted. But for me, there's probably a 1,000 young players who are like that. I mean, Shelvey is next level. Don't get me wrong, but I've heard this story 100 times. It's you need to have everything. I don't even think you can be we're talking about a Pirlo and stuff. I don't think you can even be that now. I think if you're a midfielder, you need to have everything. You need to work. You need to be box to box. If you play a 6 at 8, I just think the game's changed, and I don't really think you can get so-called passengers anymore. So, actually, see, before going to the safe, I really wanted to ask you two English fans this, right? Do you think, right, England are missing out and not putting Henderson as captain?
Yes.
Big time, yeah.
Harry Kane is not a captain. I don't care who you are, he's not a captain.
100%. It's the same thing they did when they made John Terry a captain ahead of Gerrard. John Terry was a really good captain, but Gerrard was, for me, the better captain at the time. Henderson is the best captain England have got. There's no two ways about it. Harry Kane is probably England's best player, but captain-wise, it's not even close.
But why are you not doing that? That should be used as your advantage. And how can you see what he's doing with Liverpool and not take your surely? That baffles me. It really does. Do you feel the same, Safe?
Yeah, honestly. Do you know what? I don't want this conversation to get too far away from what I was actually going to speak about.
Sorry.
No, it just seems it just seems like a lot of people are trying to get off their chest the fact that this guy is so good and he's done so much. And the thing is, I feel like, speaking specifically about Henderson, it took time for him to be built in as that leader at Liverpool. It takes time with the armband to establish your position in the team. And the thing is, he needs the same sort of scenario with the England team, I think, anyways, that with the England team, he needs to be made the captain. He needs to earn his respect as the captain. And the players around him need to realise that what Henderson says happens. He's our captain now, and he's our leader, and we should listen to him. But at the moment, it just seems to be I don't know. It just seems that there's different levels of respect in the England squad, and it doesn't match like what we've got at Liverpool. And to be honest, international football is going to be like that 9/10 of the time, because they're not playing with each other or living. We pretty much training with each other all year round. But what I actually wanted to move on to was Thiago, like I said. But do you think, like I've just seen a lot of criticism about Thiago in the thing, and Darren, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you. Well, I've seen a lot of criticism about Thiago, and it's bugging me because the guy's world class. He's just come into the England squad, and he's kind of been thrown into the deep end in a different style of football. And I don't think our team is the best suited to Thiago, like his style of football, anyways. But yesterday, I saw him adjust a little bit his game, and I felt like we adjusted our game a little bit. He picked out Salah with a long ball. And as soon as he did that, I was like, yes, my guy, he's learning to play with our two wingers.
Yeah, and we're all like waiting on that big Thiago performance. But what I will say is he's a big game player for the big stage. And last night was a big game on the big stage. Look, his experience, phenomenal. He's come last season after winning the treble at Bayern Munich, man the match in the Champions League final. I mean, the hype that was surrounded by him, every Liverpool fan, like in the summer, I was guilty of it. Forgot about bringing in cover for a left forward, bringing in a number 9, bringing in anybody else. It was all about get Thiago in the door. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know if you were all guilty of it, but we all wanted to get that deal done, because when you heard was a Neville come out, Rooney, like forget about Messi going to Man City. If Thiago goes to Liverpool, that's them win the title. It's been a tough ride from so far. He came into Liverpool, obviously he never got any kind of affection with the fans because he's come in a pandemic. He got COVID, which would have been a big setback. He's had to move family. Look, these are all genuine excuses, and people say, oh, you're looking for excuses, but the factors as well, they are genuine excuses. You know what I mean? You can't deny it. He's a human being at the end of the day. And he got a really horrific injury against Everton, and we were probably lucky that that was a leg break or an injury of the season. You know, it was as bad as Van Dijk's. Remember at the time, a couple of the doctors on Sky and that were coming out talking about it was a really bad injury, but Klopp played it down to start, and it wasn't a long-term injury. But then every couple of games now he's out, he's not back trained, he's not back, and he didn't actually make his debut then until he come on against Newcastle at the end of December. So he's had a bit of a bad time, and we need to take that into consideration. But now that he's come into the team, and the expectation has been from the get-go, you know, so high. Some of the players beside him weren't obviously on their A game, and you need to be. And I remember last season Klopp saying, if we want to challenge City or win a league, we have to be perfect, not close enough to it. And this season we haven't even been close enough to perfect. So it's just been a strange time for him to come in, but give him time, let him bed in. We've seen before players needing half a season, then they come out to be world beaters. We know the ability and how technical Thiago is, and how good he's going to be, and how confident he is. Just when he comes on the ball, he looks that way and gives it that way. And we're all waiting on a no-look assist and a no-look goal from Bobby, and we'll be all on the side of our armchairs and jumping around. Well, hopefully we will be doing that. We won't be at a game because it'll happen sooner rather than later, because we won't be at games realistic next season. So we're all waiting on that. And look, I'm a big believer he will become good, and it just takes a bit of time. But we've seen last night how good he can be, and he come off after 70 minutes, so we should be fresh now going to the derby, and let's hope this is a turning point.
Yeah, so Callum, this one's for you, by the way, because I know you're a massive Bobby fan. I mean, yesterday he got taken off the pitch, and he didn't look the happiest when he got taken off. And I think it wasn't the fact that he was upset that he was taken off, more he wasn't happy about his performance, considering Salah picked a goal, Mane picked a goal, but I don't know what so much to say about Firmino. I don't know. The thing is, I don't want to be biased because of my sheer love for the guy. Like, he's just such a lovable character, and I feel like his presence in the changing room is a big deal. But do you think? I'm not going to say do you think he's got a future at the club? I think for sure he does. But do you think we're going to see Firmino at his best again? And do we need to make any changes for him to be able to cater him into the team a little bit better?
No, so I think we can get the best out of Bobby again, but it won't be his number 9. And 2, I actually think, weirdly enough, even though he hasn't played very well for a little while now, I actually think the team is actually built around Bobby, which probably is even more frustrating because we're playing a false 9 to essentially shoehorn Bobby in, because he's not an out-and-out 9. He never has been, never will be. I think in terms of a future for Liverpool, I don't think Bobby for me, should be a starter if he's going to be playing as a striker next season. I think we need to go and get a killer up front. Like, you look at the likes of an Mbappe or Haaland, and I know they're creme de la creme, but you watch last night Mbappe, you watch Haaland tonight, like, they get one chance, it's in the back of the net, and a defence can't rest when you've got those sort of players, whereas a defence can rest when Bobby's on the pitch, whether we like it or not.
Do you think, Callum, if we signed someone of that calibre, that Bobby would improve? Would that improve Bobby, or would it really just take him out of the team, do you think?
I always think we should play Bobby in a 10. And this kind of goes back to the Thiago thing as well. I think Thiago, we're not seeing the best out of Thiago because Thiago is best in a double pivot. And I think the idea of Klopp getting Thiago was to start transitioning to the 2 double pivots with a number 10, whoever that 10 should be. I think if we were to, and again, this is dream scenario, but let's say we go and get a Haaland or an Mbappe and they're our striker, we've got Mane and Salah on the wings. Bobby playing in that hole with Thiago and let's say Firmino or Henderson next to Thiago, for me, that is as good as you're going to get, because Bobby can then do what he does best without the pressure of scoring goals. And what makes Bobby key in that system is he can actually arrive in a box late. He's that player that you can't really pick up because he's in between the lines. And I actually think he'll get more goals from the 10 than he would playing as a false 9, simply because it will be harder for a player to mark him. In the same mould as Lampard, for example, where Lampard used to pick up his goals because who marks him? Your DM can't mark him and your centre-back can't mark him. But in order for that to happen as well, Bobby does need to be a bit more clinical. And I think that's the issue with Bobby. You look back at the 17-18 season, he was clinical. But at the same time, you look back to that season, we had a magic man called Coutinho who was laying on chances for these players. And we haven't had that since. No one creates anything for Bobby, whereas he creates for everyone else around him. But at the same time, I don't want to see Bobby as a number 9 next season. I'd rather see Jota play through the middle than see Bobby there, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. To be fair, it makes a lot of sense. And I think you're right in the sense that he will pick up more goals in that position, because I feel right now there's a lot of pressure on him to do a certain thing. But if he was to move slightly back on the pitch, he's a bit more free-flowing when it comes into attack. And it just means he can enjoy himself a bit better. And you're talking about was it 18-19 season where he was, 17-18.
17-18. Yeah, he got 27 in all. I was
literally watching the highlights of it the other day, and all it was goal after goal after goal, and all 3 of them were just phenomenal. But Conroy, so we've got a comment over here, yeah? Big up all you guys. I want us to take it game by game, quite similar to what you said. Come on, game by game. What signings do you think we should get? I'm defo on the Neto train.
Don't get him started. Don't get him started. No, listen.
I just realised
See, Bizzle put something in that chat on Twitter the other day. Bizzle Bonds is on the other show we do, and it was when Neto done it against Southampton. And I couldn't stop laughing. He says, "Come to us, mate, and finish 9th with us." And it was like, the guy is so talented. I think it's actually the most impressive thing about Neto is actually, I don't think what he's doing now. I think it's how much he's improved over a short space of time. So remember, he scored that offside goal against us. Well, the VAR, it was offside, but the one at Anfield when Lallana chased it to Mane, the 1-0 win. And it was like in that game, he looked he looked busy, and he looked like he's good, but a lot of work to do. And in the space of that time, I mean, he looked good then, but he looked a bit raw still. And then, honestly, I watched him against Chelsea earlier when Wolves at the start of the season. And as you mentioned, he can play left, he can play right. For me, it's a bit like a Grealish. You're not going to go for it, but it's a no-brainer signing in the sense of, even if it's a lot of money, you're going to either get a sell-on value or you're going to have him for 10 years or 8 years at your club. I think Neto, I actually think there'll be a lot in for him this summer. I think there'll be people already inquiring with his agent right now, because he's evolved so quickly. It's the rate of his improvement that's actually quite terrifying, because he's starting to bring quite clinical finish. I'm not saying he's clinical yet, but Jota's showed you that if you're in a better team, right, you're actually going to get more chances. And I think Neto's a no-brainer. For me, though, I know I've said this a lot of times, and I've been actually doing a bit of research on number 9s, because I love Haaland. I actually think I'm not going to say over Mbappe, but I think Haaland would suit us, because I think we need to evolve a bit, and I think we need that clinical striker. But Haaland's not going to come because of Mino Raiola. I don't think so anyway. But
No.
You know, it's not crazy to think about. We could go big. We keep saying Haaland, right? Now, I don't know your thoughts on this, but Kane's a bit out there, right? But I don't think Kane's completely out of this world, because at the end of the day, he's not unhappy, but he will be frustrated with Tottenham, and they're probably going to finish not in the Champions League as well. Or even, it sounds bonkers, but you talk about Lewandowski, players like that. I don't see how crazy it is to go for someone like that. I mean, they might not have the financial, but they're an older striker. But I think Cavani showed that with Man United, that see if someone's playing at a later age now, you can't completely rule them out. You maybe don't give them a 3-year contract. But I actually think, Cal knows this, I was struck on Jimenez for a long time until he got his injury. And that's the one thing. It's like, because obviously football's not the most important thing, his health's the most important thing. But I thought he would have suited us to a T, because if you watch him at Wolves, you watch the link up, he works well. That's who I would have went for. But for me on it right now, I am on the Kane train. So Cal's on the Neto train, I'm on both. With Kane train, it's happening. I don't see why not. That Kane train just makes the most sense. I think if we had Harry Kane, right, it would be like being a pick and mix. Like, genuinely, he'd have so many chances, right? And he's Liverpool fans. If we had a striker like that, you would see what a clinical striker. Imagine Sergio Aguero is. Rivals tell you the best about your team. If you watch Man City, every time we played Man City, we're starting well, and Aguero gets one chance, one goal. He scored that goal against Reina, because I don't know what Reina was doing. He came out with his goal. But how did that even go in? But he's just. Like, Liverpool fans, we've had so much success in the last couple of years, right? But I do think we've misunderstood a little bit of what it's like to have a striker who is just a killer. And it's like, I think we need to evolve with the times a little bit. And I think that's the next step. And do you know what? I think Firmino has been key to success for the last couple of years, but it's football's in cycles, and I just think we have to change with the times a little bit. It's not a bad thing. I think he could be a good number 10. I was talking to my mate the other day, he disagreed, but I think when you watch Firmino, he's got all the skills to be a really good number 10, in the sense of he can see the pass, he is quite smart, and when he's got a bit of rest, he's quite good at pressing. So as I said to my earlier point, he'd be quite a hard working number 10. And then, so say if Jota comes back for the Leipzig second leg, you could potentially have a 4-2-3-1, right? Because if Henderson's playing at centre back right now, or Fabinho, whatever, you could have Thiago, Henderson, or whoever you want to play there, and you could have the 3-1 with Bobby as the 10, and either Jota or Salah in the middle. Why not try that though, Cal? Because you're kind of forced to try that right now. Do you know what I mean?
I am on board.
But right now it's like you're not actually having to knock a midfielder out the free when they come back, because obviously we're a bit short in spaces. So for me right now, I think that's something you could try this season, and you could actually give Bobby a run of games as a 10 and see how he gets on, because I think he's got the potential to play there quite well.
Do you know what? Initially, when I think Conroy is the first one to say that to me about bringing Bobby into the 10 role.
Right, Cal made it a couple of weeks ago, so I can't steal that from him.
But the thing is, like, he probably was inspired by you, but the thing is, I was very like against it, simply because we've seen what this front three are capable of when they play in that front three. And it kind of, I wouldn't say it contradicts kind of what Conroy was saying, but I think it's something that comes with age a little bit. And Firmino can't keep up with the work rate that was expected of him about 2 seasons ago, where, like, I've used this analogy a million times, where it's literally like a pit bull at defenders' ankles, and he just would not stop. 90 minutes of the game, high press. Saw it in moments yesterday, but not how we.
It's not the same. It isn't the same. You can just tell he's not getting his legs.
Yeah, literally. And I think because of that, though, I don't think someone like Kane would fit massively great into our team. Like, the guy's, what, 27, 28 years old?
See, I never used to, but this season has changed my mind, because I think his link-up's been special, and I think he's maybe changing the game a bit, that if you're a striker now, if you can do that as well. I just think times are changing a little bit around us. You've got to remember other teams are strengthening as well. And it's like, it's not a bad thing to look at. The thing about Bobby Firmino is you get a striker in, and then he can just change position. Because, I mean, I just think the squad needs a bit of depth anyway. Kane's possibly not going to happen. I understand that, but we need to dream.
The only reason I think I'm like a little bit thingy about the situation is because I remember we were in a bit of the same scenario a couple of seasons back, and our replacement was Benteke, or we had Andy
Balotelli for Suarez.
Come on, we knew the Balotelli one wasn't going to work.
That was just
really.
No, the Benteke is a good shout, though. It's a good shout.
But do you know what it is?
Yeah.
Like, we brought those players in because they were scoring goals at the clubs they were at initially, but they came into Liverpool and it just didn't work for them because like Liverpool isn't that style of football of stick a big guy up front. And I think also, all right, Kane's not that big guy up front, but I feel like in our number 9 role, you just need someone with a pair of legs on them. And ideally someone who can score a bit more goals. Now, Kane can definitely do the goal scoring.
Yeah, he's a goal machine.
Imagine if you could have both, though. Imagine if you had a front three who could, oh my God, it would be unbelievable. It would be like Man City in 17-18.
Yeah, and what I would say as well is that I wouldn't rule out or signing a finished article like a Kane or Lewandowski. Now, Lewandowski's he's going to be 33 soon, isn't he? I think in the middle of this year. Because we've seen in the summer FSG changing their DNA, bringing in like a finished article like Thiago at 29. There was a lot of talk of, I don't think they will. They like to bring in someone younger. But Callum, that's a good point earlier, what you had mentioned about Neto. Like, I mean, he's only 20. We've seen him. He's played for Lazio, wasn't it, before? And he's 2 years now of Premier League experience. And I think if you can bring in a Premier League experienced player already at a Premier League club, that's a big asset. And it's you just know you're nearly getting someone, I'm not going to say a guarantee, but you're bringing in someone that's used to the league, that knows the stadiums, knows somewhat about the culture and what the Premier League's expected and the intensity of it. And what we've seen with Jota at Wolves, yeah, he was brilliant and he was up and coming. But when he comes to Liverpool, how prolific he is, he goes on to the next level. But he's improved with, I suppose, higher expectations and better players around him. So Neto, for me, not someone I've thought about much, but it's probably changed my mind that 20 years of age. I mean, imagine the years to development we'd have of him. But it would be a gamble because he's doing that at Wolves, but he's not, what would I say, not 100% proven and clinical, but someone like a Lewandowski or what Conroy was saying, Kane, just goal machines. It's
proven.
It's debatable.
I know it sounds crazy when we're saying it, but really it's not right now because everyone's talking about Haaland and Mbappe. So they're like the go-tos. Everyone wants them. So I actually think it's a good time now. If you're going to pull a big signing like that, I don't know. But on the Neto thing, though, for me, I've got to agree. I think it's a no-brainer to get him because see the thing I've noticed is Jota's proved that if you're in a better team, right, and you're hungrier, right, he's came to show up Mane and Salah, and he done that. He done that.
And Bobby.
Aye,
showed them
completely. But it's like everyone goes to Bobby straight away, Cal. But it's like that Atlanta game was embarrassing for them, in my opinion, because Jota had 3 chances and showed them. See if you actually just use your head and just chip him like that. It's not that difficult. But it's like what I mean is, I think there's other players, winger style like that, who play similar to Mane and Salah, who are looking at them and thinking, if I had that team around me and that pressing, obviously with the full team, Van Dijk, I think I'm going to get more chances to show what I can do. And it doesn't always work out like that. But what I would say, a lot of Wolves fans said, like Neto was keeping Jota out of the team last year. So I know like 2 + 2, it doesn't always equal 4 in that sense for that, but he's 20 and he's played so many games. I think his experience is actually quite frightening as well. I take your point, Darren, because it is different because we've seen like everyone thought Thiago would just slot in and be amazing, and it's like it doesn't always work like that. And especially if you're going from a team like Wolves, where quite a strong structure if they play a 4 or a 3 at the back. But I know I think the son's special, and I think it's a no-brainer because if you sign him for a lot of money, even if it doesn't work out, you probably can get your money back in the worst case scenario.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
So we've got 2 suggestions here, yeah. So one of them, Memphis Depay. I don't know if that would probably keep Genie in the squad. And the other one is Callum Wilson from Newcastle, who's actually had quite a good season from a lot of the fantasy teams. But me personally, I'm not so sure about the Depay one. I haven't been watching him as of recent. Callum Wilson, though, I mean, it's one thing doing it at Newcastle, it's another thing doing it at Liverpool. And they're quite different, I'd say, in styles of play. But that's the thing, you never know sometimes. Like, we thought Thiago was going to slot in. Didn't really happen. I want to speak about the last point. So, obviously, against Leicester, it all went wrong. And then we managed to have quite a good game against Leipzig. Do you think our aims for this season are simply just top 4? And do you think the Champions League are we jumping the gun a little bit by saying that it's possible? And it's a very Liverpool thing to do, by the way. It's Istanbul, talking about the German teams, one win, and that's it. It's our Champions League. Do you think we're jumping the gun a little bit?
And another point on that is when we beat them 2 German teams in 2005 and 2019, we beat them by 2 goals as well, 3-1 and both, 2-0 last night.
Guys,
so it's like a jigsaw. It's kind of
You're forgetting the Hoffenheim game. Like, honestly, Nagelsmann is a different animal. They will just go. Like, they will not give up, and it's not about any given Sunday Al Pacino, like you got everything. I'm saying, like, Nagelsmann, they are just, their mentality is like nothing else. Like, they'll just go. And for me, it's like, we need to be careful, because I remember watching that Hoffenheim, and I know we won 4-2, but that was a basketball match, and that was terrifying because they missed a few chances. Obviously, we've got more control. I'm just saying, Liverpool fans, we need to be smart in this game. We can't just expect, because they will go for it. And the thing is, if they get an early goal, we'll all be like panicking, and they're like, I just think we need to be smart and maybe just prepare that he's a young manager, but the teams have no fear. So it'll be interesting. I mean, look at Man United. They scored 3. Just have to be a little bit smarter. But you know what? If we get through that leg and then the draw, and then I know Porto were beating Juventus tonight. So it's a strange season. Anything can happen. What I would say is consistency is the most important thing. If we can even get 88% consistency, I'd be happy.
Honestly, we've got 3 games leading up to the second game, to the second leg against Leipzig. I think it gives us time to establish a bit more strength in defence. I think Kabak and Henderson can have quite a good link up for the rest of the season. I mean, like all of you, like I said, to be honest, there were a few moments yesterday, especially like Henderson, Kabak, trying to get the full understanding. It was a lot worse against Leicester, and if I was to see anything like that again, I think I've cried enough tears. I don't think I can do more this season. But if the thing is, if we can get a settled defence, and we can focus on our defence, because it feels like, for me, that's how our team became how great we did, because it all started from defence. And I know this is a lot more on the short term. If we can focus on our defence and build from there, I think this game coming into this game, will be so different. Like, I feel like coming into the Leipzig game, we're going to focus on our defence, and they're not going to be able to attack. Like, as much as they want to, they're going to struggle to kind of come at us. But Callum, do you think we're stretching when we say that the Champions League is possibly ours? Okay, it's possibly ours yet, but it's just in the books.
Number 7 is coming.
I know. The thing is, it's a tough one, because given our form, yes, but again, if you go back to 2005, our form was pretty poor that season, and we still did it.
We didn't have the best team either, did we?
Yeah, so it's not against the realms of possibility that we can do it. I can't sit here and say honestly with my heart that I think we're favourites, or we're even in the top 5 favourites to win it, in my opinion. I think City look really good and have strengthened their defence a lot this season, which has helped them. Bayern Munich are just a juggernaut when they get going. PSG with Mbappe and Poch now as well. They're a different animal. It's tough. I think the draw has to be very favourable to us, and we have to be very good at navigating through. But if we can stay defensively solid and say Jota comes back into the team and picks up from where he left off before he got injured, then there's every chance. But top 4 for me is a massive priority. Like, I'd rather get top 4 and get knocked out of the Champions League in, like, I don't know, quarterfinals, and get to like the final or semi-final of the Champions League, not win it and not get top 4. Like, we have to get Champions League football next season.
100%. I mean, we're like a club that are on a perch to an extent, and if we want to carry on developing and getting better, we cannot drop out the Champions League spot, because then you're looking at a downfall. But that is pretty much everything for today. I feel like Conroy's got something to add to that.
Just one more thing, guys. See, actually, the next second leg against Leipzig, what will be quite interesting to see how we perform at home, because every year, usually Anfield, the Champions League, it's like that's our bread and butter because the fans are there, or even we had the record. It'll be really interesting. I think I'll maybe pass my judgment on to how the Leipzig game goes at home, in the sense of how we perform, because usually that's an advantage, but recently it's not been. So if we perform well in that and we can get that momentum again, I think that could actually be quite an interesting thing as well, because that fear factor at Anfield, if we manage to maintain that, I feel like that does have an effect in teams as well. But as we saw recently, City had a psychological problem there and they blew that out of the park. So we'll see. I think it'll all rest on that second leg, and I think I'll be a lot more confident if we navigate that game quite well.
Yeah.
Good point, Conroy.
Sorry, I was just looking at the table, yeah? I'm not going to lie, I cannot believe we're in 6th place for a start. But looking at this table, yeah, we've got Everton, then we've got, I think, Sheffield straight after, and then, Everton, Sheffield, Fulham, and then the league games after that are Wolves, Arsenal, and Villa, yeah? I'm not going to lie, it's not looking fantastic for us. I feel like we will pick up wins, but it's just...
Look, I think over 38 games, lads, there's not 4 better teams in this league than us. Look, everything that could possibly go against us has. We've had 16 centre-back pairings this season. I think the last 2 seasons we probably had 5 or 6. So it goes back to the old saying, defences win your titles, lads, and the best defence will get you through it. And we have been, particularly, I think the last 2 seasons, we've been phenomenal defensively. But we've had a Rolls Royce at the back leading and commanding that. This season, there's been a lot of changes too. If we can get some consistency there, I do believe Firmino will probably see out the season as a first choice centre back along with Kabak as much as possible, of course. Obviously, there'll be room for rotation and injuries, etc. But I really, hand on heart, truly do believe, I'm hoping will change, and it can only get better. I don't think it can get worse. Now, I said this a while back, and
don't say that, Taz.
No, but I think this season press conference have been negative because there's been talk about injuries. Social media has been leaking, such and such is injured, such and such didn't travel. It's all been really negative towards injuries. If we can sustain most of the senior lads and our starting players, or that make the bench, the 15 or 16 main lads there, and keep them injury free for a period of time, I think we will be okay. We just need vibes to change, be that bit more positive. Klopp just to be that bit more positive, the way he was, what he's implemented towards all his fans and the club. If we do, I don't believe there's 4 better teams in the league than us. But look, there's a long way to go. It's going to be a big test the weekend, and we'll know more this time next week than we do now. So let's just see how it goes. But I'm going to remain optimistic and positive because of those points. But I'm still open-minded enough to know that there's nothing certain. Do you know what I mean? Not in this season.
Definitely. I think I've come to a point now, where I just don't make judgments anymore. Because Twitter poisons my mind. I'm telling you, we score 1 goal and that's it. You open Twitter and you read, we're gonna win the league, we're gonna do this, we're gonna win the league. And you're like, you know what, we're gonna do it. But I'm telling you, just don't trust Twitter because it's just like Darren was saying, so much negativity. One bad thing happens and that's it. Like you just see about a million tweets saying null and void, this, that, whatever, and you're like, you know what, it's just the worst season ever. And I'm just Liverpool fans.
It's funny how people view games differently, isn't it? Because like I watched the game last night, and it's like we're all buzzing, and I'm like, the guy missed the chance in the last minute, and I'm fuming. I'm like, all that hard work could have gone, but it's just football is obviously it's an obvious statement, but it's just about it's about the margins, isn't it? And that's what happens. But you know what? Let's enjoy it. We won a game. Let's enjoy it.
Honest, I haven't celebrated a goal like I celebrated yesterday's for a long time. It felt like I think Caleb said earlier, what a relief. Just what a relief. And that second goal was a bigger relief, man. But guys, I'm going to call it there, But I hope all of you enjoyed that. Before we do go, sorry, one more comment, quite a funny one. What's he written? Upamanenko. I've seen to make as many passes to our front three since Van Dijk. Aaron's got a show on his channel tomorrow, right? 11 a.m.
I haven't, no, not definitely yet. I have a few things to set up, so I'm only working on it. But no, I'll be in contact with you, but probably not tomorrow. Sorry.
All the guns on that. Everyone already knows already from Coppish. And Conroy, where can anyone find you?
It's at _ Conroy H on Twitter at the moment. The channel's in production, but I've just had a busy week this week, so that'll be in the next couple of weeks.
You guys heard it here first. I hope all of you enjoyed that video. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and drop a comment down below. I'll see you guys later.